Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
It is time for our Outdoor Tidbits with Mr. Jake Bolks, Conservation Warden for the great state of Wisconsin. Now that we are officially in the month of September, we've got...
Did they hire him knowing he was a Vikings fan?
Ooh, Jake.
I don't think they knew that at the time.
Coming out of the gate right away.
Actually, that's a lie. That's a lie. We do a pretty thorough background search or check. I would imagine they knew it and probably just took what they could get.
Oh, man. Not only is it hunting season coming up here, it's football season, so we get to do a little trash talk in there, too. So, how you doing there? How you doing there, Jake?
I'm doing good. It's had a couple fantasy drafts the last couple of days. Football's starting, so I'm excited for that.
How many bear did they get yesterday? Did you hear? Did you get out and see anybody shooting a bear?
I talked with plenty of people that were excited. I think the warm temperature kind of pushed a lot of those bears to evening bears. So I didn't get a lot of calls or pictures from people harvesting ones that they had been seeing during legal hours. So I think with the cooler weather coming the next couple of days, I bet you that's when people are going to be successful.
You know, speaking of bear hunting, that did start yesterday, Jake. Maybe a good kind of refresher on some of the regulations and such. I mean, are people still able to use dogs or baiting and all that? You know, what's kind of maybe a good refresher for everybody getting ready to head outside?
Yeah. So the big thing right now is that if you're bear hunting, every year, if you're not aware, every year they switch off. I go out in the field first, whether it's hound hunters or baiters. And this year it's baiters. So anyone that's baiting anywhere in the state started yesterday and can go hunting. If you're specifically only hunting bears with dogs, like hounding them, or with hounds, that doesn't start until later in the season. So if most hunters already know this, but if you do see dogs running around, anywhere in the state chasing bears, that would be illegal right now. So always feel free to call in to your local warden.
So can they practice right now with dogs, or is that off limits right now too?
Yeah, right now, the only thing is with the aid of with baiting or any other legal method, not using dogs. So you couldn't be out running, you couldn't be out doing this kind of stuff. When you're in the actual season like this, then it's a little bit different. Gotcha.
Okay. And then for anybody who does get a bear, is it the same kind of registration process as if they got a deer? Just do it online or call it in?
It is a little bit. For bear hunting, they still have that. You still have to print off the actual hard copy tag. So, that is a good point you brought up. So when you're out and about hunting, it is a little bit different than deer and everything else right now, where all you need is like a driver's license. Legally, for bear, you still have to have, proof of a license, but you also have to have your carcass tag or harvest authorization. There was a couple years where with deer, you had to print off the paper and then you had to validate it still, whether it was ripping off the bottom or writing in the date. That's still the same with bear. You have to possess that paper tag. And then immediately validate it once you harvest your bear. And I believe validating it is just like ripping off the bottom part where it says "rip here, tear here."
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. So that is that's a good point actually, Dan. Is that if you are going out, you got to have it with you, because if you get checked, or I checked a guy last year who had just shot a bear, and when I went to check his license, he didn't have anything with him. So technically he's in violation, and it's like a $300 or $400 ticket for not having that piece of paper with you.
Does he get to keep the bear though?
Well, yeah, he was a good guy. Made some mistakes. He kept the bear and stuff, but we worked through the citation issued for it, because it is still. Oh,
you still there, Jake?
Yep.
Okay, just broke up a little bit there at the end.
Oh,
so.
Sorry.
Nope, you're good. Hey, Jake, I want a good reminder. I know you mentioned this the other day too, but this time of year, fall, maybe people going out there with ATVs, UTVs, and accessing the trail routes. Maybe a good refresher on the safety of hitting those routes.
Yeah. So The UTV, ATV stuff, I know we talked about it. We've talked about it a lot this summer, but I did ironically get a message from some of our internal staff that asked us to kind of promote it again, which works out great for our show here because we can hit on it every week then. But it looks like, so there's a lot of numbers run, and I don't know if you guys saw last week. I actually just learned about it too, but I guess there was a pretty unfortunate ATV accident over in O'Connell County last weekend where a young kid lost his life. It's kind of opened the eyes to how many UTV, ATV fatals that we're having this year in Wisconsin, and there's a lot of factors. I mean, there's a lot more machines, there's a lot more road routes, there's a lot more trails, the summers are longer, there's so many things to it, but the important thing is that we're safe out there. So utilizing helmets, even if you're above 18, and wearing seatbelts, like everyone in the UTVs wearing seatbelts is really important. So we're actually going to have kind of a blitz this weekend in the Warden Service and with some local sheriff's departments where we're going to be out there again, basically prioritizing ATV, UTV safety because it looks like we're going to have a record year for ATV deaths, which is unfortunate.
But again, I don't think people appreciate an ATV is not a pickup and it's not a car. And I know that they can drive them on the roads and things like that, but they cannot do the same thing. And you got to appreciate what you're driving and understand the difference in the vehicle you're driving. It's, like I said, not a car and not a pickup truck. They're different.
100%. They're different. They're different, and one of the main things is these machines are meant to be off-road, so they have low-pressure tires. So they handle extremely differently on the roads, on different surfaces that isn't a ATV or UTV trail in the woods. And that's where people are taking corners too tight or driving too fast, or, you know, you haven't driven an ATV in 10 years and you jump on and you just gun it. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, people are crashing at an extremely high rate, and too many of them are dying from it and such like that. So it's really important to, when, you know, doesn't matter your age, where you're at, whether it's private property, public property, is to go out there and be safe. Wear your helmet, wear your seatbelts, and just like you mentioned, Bob, is that there's no, a lot of these don't have roll bars, and if they do, some of them are pretty legit, and some are just there to be there. Like these machines aren't DOT approved or aren't NHTSA, you know, whatever the vehicle manufacturers have to follow for our safety. A lot of these machines don't have to follow, so they're definitely not as safe as a regular vehicle on the road.
And that's what I've found from driving them is the turning. You know, if you're at any speed level at all and try and turn these things, be careful because you can flip them. Slow down when you come into these turns because some people just want to go, you know, just go. But the turning is where I've seen from riding them that you have to be really careful because they are different, and you can spill those things in a hurry if you're, you know, too aggressive on the turns.
Exactly, and a lot of times too, it's not even like first time riders or sometimes it's people that are very experienced, but they're pushing the limits of the machine or the trail and stuff like that, which ends up someone else head on a trail or corner, or rolling it on a steeper than average turn or something like that. And unfortunately, just there's a lot of wardens have had to respond to a lot of deaths, and not only is it, you know, obviously bad for the warden and stuff, but it's 100 million times worse for the families of you know, friends and dads and kids that never come home from just riding on an ATV or UTV. So if you're out on the trails this weekend, you'll probably see a heavy presence, which, you know, we try to have that, especially around here. We have a heavy presence every weekend, not year-round, but most of the year. But we're just trying to get the word out again for be safe and ride safe when you're out there. Absolutely.
Well said there. Hey, Jake, we had this question come in late last week, so kind of an off-the-wall one here, but this texter said, we've been told for years that it's illegal to pick lily pad flowers. Is this true, or is that an old wives' tale?
So the short answer is that, yes, it is illegal to remove aquatic plants from the lake. So there's a lot of different. It's weird. It seems like a simple little question, but there's actually a couple of different moving parts. So the main thing is that under our our invasive species laws and R40 is that it's illegal to remove any aquatic plant or water from the lake. Like you can't leave the boat launch with water in your bucket from the lake or in your live well, or you can't have any plants, in a bucket or on your trailer in your boat, stuff like that. So that would include, like, if you pick the flowers to bring them home for whatever reason, to bring them home for whatever reason, or bring them off the water. Sometimes there are exemptions where a riparian homeowner, so it's like someone that owns the land immediately under the water, or a municipality or something, there are certain instances where potentially you could harvest those plants to, like, clear up the area for, like, a swim zone, or because it's affecting something with navigability or this or that. But generally, those, even if it's physical hand labor, you're going to need some sort of permit through the DNR, and I do have, like, a DNR contact. So if anyone ever asks questions, you can reach out to me, and I'll get you to the appropriate person to find out if what you're doing is legal, illegal, if you need a permit or not. So you'd probably need a permit. So, like, the short answer of all that is that, yes, it's illegal to remove any aquatic plant from a water body.
All right.
So how does that
all make sense?
Yep.
So how does that equate to if I had shoreline and one of the trees on my shoreline falls in the water? Is that all of a sudden an aquatic plant that I can't remove it?
No, that would be just, that would be like, debris that's fallen down.
But I've heard people that say if it falls, if you take it when it's leaning and it's not in the water, it's okay. But if it gets into the water, then you get really in trouble for getting it out of the way if it's like just off the side of your dock or something. What?
No, you can remove it if it came down in a storm or just it rotted and fell, stuff like that. Now, if you decide that you want to create your own fish habitat and you cut down a tree or 8 trees on your shoreline and just dump them in the water for that reason, then there may be some issues with navigability or, even littering technically, because you're kind of you're depositing a solid substance into the waters of the state.
But if it falls off the bank by itself...
But if it falls off and you want to clean it up because it's in your way or this or that, that's something you can do. You don't need anything special for that. That's like nature caused it to fall. You just need to clean it up for whatever reason. It's when you intentionally drop them in to leave them there, or there's been a tree that's like cemented in the bottom of the lake for a decade or 2 decades, and all of a sudden today you decide that you want to rip it out. Then there might be an issue because you're not supposed to remove anything from the bed of a lake. But in this situation, if it just falls in and you're trying to clean up storm damage or basic maintenance, that would be okay.
All right, good stuff there, Jake. As always, we appreciate the time, and be safe out there. As always, man, especially with hunting seasons kicking off and such too. So be safe out there, and we appreciate you answering our questions this morning.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. There's definitely some good questions, always good questions. And if anyone listening ever has like more specific questions or wants any clarification on what we talked about today, I always encourage you just to reach out to me or our general info line and ask the questions, and we're more than happy, or I'm more than happy to talk about it a little bit further.
Awesome. Appreciate it, buddy. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
You got it. There you go. Jake Bolks, our conservation warden buddy for the great state of Wisconsin. Quick